Hello, everyone. I'm JBolin, and welcome to Custom Closet Conversations. You know what? This is my very first podcast, and I never thought that I would be the one behind the microphone and leading a conversation. I always told myself, like, that's for other people. And lately I felt led to speak up and let my voice be heard a lot more. I have a lot to talk about, a lot to say. This episode will have a little bit of a twist because maybe you don't know who I am, or maybe you do know who I am. But just to give a chance to know me a little more, I've invited who else better than my personal assistant for the past 5-6 years, Loxia Brent, who's here with me today. I'm so excited to have her. So I'm really nervous about the questions that she's going to ask me, because who knows, with somebody who's been in my home, on the road with me every single step of the way, and in my office. So you've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Loxia Brent.
When I say let me tell y'all, first off, I was about to say Mr. Bolin. First came in, I'm like, I'm about to call you Mr. Bolin. But no,
Please
today
don't call me Mr. Bolin.
We are digging into JBolin. And we're going to go into Jason a little as well. For some of y'all don't know what the J stand for, it's Jason. Now you see how we're going to start this off. So first, thank you so much, Mr. Bolin, for allowing me to be a part of a pivotal moment in your life when it comes to podcasting. I'm excited to see what's about to happen. So.
No, who else better, honestly?
Yes. So I do want to get into it really quickly. So a lot of people believe that they know JBolin. But my question to you is, who is JBolin? Who was JBolin at the age, let's say, about 12, 13?
Oh, wow. Well, what I will say is that I didn't even know who JBolin was at the age of 12. At the time, it was literally just Jason. Just Jason Bolin. But at the age of 12, living in Mississippi in a small town called Roxy. And shout out to my family who had all this amazing land. And I grew up mowing grass and feeding horses and cows and picking greens and hunting all during the week for food. Okay. And there was a lot of moments where I never felt like I belonged, not even on my own land, not even in my own city. I never felt that I truly belonged, because a lot of the things that I saw a lot of the other men doing were things that never piqued interest for me. And so I looked at those things and I thought, I don't know, should I be doing it? Should I not do it? Oh, I'm not really interested in that. I'd rather be doing this. And so it always brought a little bit of insecurity along the way as a little boy. So at the age of 12, I would say that Jason Bolin was just a good old country boy in the South who was just trying to figure out who he was.
Wow. So I want to go back to this word. And a lot of times we run from this word, but it's really great to acknowledge it at a young age and or the beautiful seasoned age that we are now.
Right.
Insecurities. At 12, you're realizing now you're able to actually label it as an insecurity. But did you really know it was an insecurity at 12? Whatever that thing was that you're like, wait a minute, I'm comparing myself.
Yeah.
Did you understand truly at that age?
I had heard the word insecurity kind of growing up some. I couldn't necessarily give the true definition of it, but I knew the true feeling of it. I knew the true feeling of not truly belonging. I knew the feeling of not feeling like I fit in. I knew the feeling of even being at school, even in grade school, not feeling like I belonged. Like, honestly, like I played sports because it was the thing that most guys did. I played basketball because it was the thing most guys did. I played any sports you could think of, and then it became enjoying because it was just a thing to do in the South. There's not much to do outside of like riding four-wheelers and stuff. And so I played basketball, then I played football, and God knows I wasn't good at either one of them. And I played them because it was a place of acceptance, or I felt like if I did these things, maybe people would see me in a different light and maybe they would accept me.
Wow. Okay, so with that, And I love that you are, breaking that down and the different feelings that you have felt at the age that you are now, a seasoned saint, all right? Seasoned
Yes,
saint,
I
huh? But at the age that you are now, what would you tell yourself, your 12-year-old self or 13-year-old self, now that you know what you know and in the place that you're in now?
I would tell myself at 12 years old, being the 41-year-old man that I am now, I would tell the 12-year-old boy to hold on. Just to hold on, not try to change up too much, because I believe that even in those moments of the not knowing or the insecure moment or not feeling like I belong, those moments groomed me to be a little more mature now. Because what was even probably happening then is if you tap into other people's world, the guys who were playing sports that were interested in sports, they probably had insecurity too, but it was probably just in a different area. So I wouldn't take away the learning lessons, the valuable moments of the not knowing, so that I could be groomed, or so that I could do the deep work of figuring out who I am and what it is that I want to be and what are the things that I'm actually interested in. I always find it interesting when like I see a 4-year-old or like a 5-year-old, or when I see my daughter Chloe at the age of 3, and I'm like, I wonder what is she interested in, and like you have people that say like, oh, I was 5 years old and I was cutting out paper dolls and I was doing all these things. I'm thinking, yeah, I wasn't doing, my brain wasn't anywhere there. I was just trying to be liked. Not necessarily trying to figure out what I was good at or what I like to do. I was just trying to be liked. So I never had the opportunity to really figure out what I liked, because I was trying to be liked.
Wow. Now that's a whole podcast by itself.
Yeah.
That's a whole podcast by itself. So let's go back. Let's go to college. Let's go to college. What did you major in?
Advanced technology and engineering.
What in the world?
Whoa. Right? I mean, my
Yeah.
parents are now looking at me like, boy, what did we pay for you to go to college for 4 years at Alcorn State University, HBCU? And I'm proud that I went to an HBCU, and I'm proud of what I majored in, because it has played a pivotal role in my life in some areas, in some ways. And like now I'm into some interior design. I'm into the interior world. So a lot of those things are starting to play a role now. But over the past 15 years, I can't really identify where they really played a role. And so that even brought up an insecurity. It's like, did you waste your parents' money? You went to school. What did you go to school for? And then let's not, I mean, I graduated with the degree, but I barely graduated with the degree. You know what I mean? So even that insecurity of like, you barely made it, so you don't leave feeling secure in something that you barely made it out of school with.
Yeah. So are you telling me that you really didn't want to go to school for engineering? Is that what
really
it is?
didn't want to go to school.
Oh, you didn't want to go to school, period.
I really didn't want to go to school at all.
Gotcha.
I didn't want to go to school at all. And the reason why I didn't want to go to school at all is because I didn't feel like I could learn like everyone else.
Gotcha.
And so I always felt like you don't belong. This is not a place for you. And wherever I had to show up and I couldn't fully show up, I always felt like I was exposed.
Wow.
And so wherever I had to show up and meet a certain grade or meet a certain criteria that was on paper, if I didn't meet that, then it would expose me immediately to say, he's not smart.
Yeah.
Or something's wrong with him. Like he's not learned like everybody else.
Yeah.
So it automatically puts you in the mindset of like you're always playing catch up or you're always behind.
Do you find yourself hiding still in any way?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Do I find now? You just got really deep.
Yeah.
that was really low of you. Okay. Do I find myself still hiding? Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Me stepping up to do this podcast right now is a major step for me because over the past 3 or 4 years where people have started to develop their own voice and people can say what they want to say, I've often hid from what people would think about my store, what people would think about me, what people would think about my styling. And I couldn't even hide behind my clients even when I would style them because people would say, oh, he's whack or fire stylist. All those things would come up. So the main thing I wanted to do was start a company in a whole other name that had nothing to do with me at all. Nobody knew who I was and just do this company anonymously so that I wouldn't have to face the hardship. And that was my way of protecting myself. So I feel like hiding is a way of me being able to protect myself and protect me from just people that love you one day and then people that absolutely hate you one day. And so I do find myself still hiding, not necessarily hiding from just people, but just hiding from myself and even what God has even called me to. Sometimes I don't want to step up to accept the calling.
Wow. That is the, I was about to say Mr. Bolin. JBolin, that was definitely that's a real topic. And when we get into these places and we're like, labeled by people because people assume of who you are,
Yeah.
and they keep you in this box.
Yeah.
How do you get out of the box of people's perspective, point of view towards you? Like, in this day and age, how do you get out of the box being a stylist and everybody's like, oh, you're just a church stylist. Right. All you do is, the Sarahs or the this or that. It's like, how do you get out of that?
I'll be honest. I used to be really shamed. I was really shamed about the box that I was put in initially. And that box was, you're a gospel stylist, or you're just a fashion stylist. And I was ashamed of honestly doing work that was for the kingdom. And then one day I heard a small whisper from God saying that this is the most honorable work that can be done on the planet, which is helping people to see themselves through the eyes of God in the way that I see people. And when people can see themselves the way that God sees them, that means they can see themselves unconditionally loved. Yeah. They can see themselves prosperous. They can see themselves soaring. They can see all those things. And so, yeah.
Yeah, now that I'm loving that you bringing up God, Jesus Christ. I appreciate that.
That was a big question.
Yeah. So how do you even being in the field that you're in, how do you introduce Christ to people? Because you're a believer, right?
Yes,
like
I am a believer.
Okay.
I'm a believer. Hey, don't check my.
I'm just saying,
don't check my
1, 2, 1, 2.
Don't check my Jesus status like that.
Let the people know, because a lot of people, in the world that we're in, they use God freely, and a lot of times, we don't stun on it, but
you never know
Christ
who
is out there.
You never know who's serving who or what's serving what. But I've been very open, as flawed as I am.
Yes.
As flawed as I am, and the enemy will definitely whisper in your ear and say, remember, you are extremely flawed. So how can you tell somebody about a savior? How can you tell somebody about a God? How can you tell somebody about what I can do for them when you're still suffering? You're prospering and suffering all at the same time.
Okay, let's stay there. Anybody in the car, park it. Okay, let me tell you something, Mr. Bolin. So, what do you do in that crossroad of suffering and prospering at the same time?
You have to lean to God, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I still struggle with it. I still don't understand at times. Like, God, how could you make me so beautiful but yet make me so ugly at the same time? I'll never understand it. I'll never understand it, because when you realize how ugly that you really are, how flawed you really are as a person, I can identify with that, and I can accept it. Like, I'm flawed, and this is who I am. And I'm flawed, and Jesus don't love me, and nobody loves me. Blah blah blah. I can live with that, because that means that I can separate myself from the world, and I can just identify with what I'm not. But when God calls you to what you have to be, then you have to step up and say, okay, all right, so I'm flawed, but Jesus saves. I'm ugly, but Jesus is beautiful. You know what I mean? So, taking your ashes and turning them, So these are things that you deal and you fight with daily. The struggle is definitely, it's a real struggle at being able to read your Bible. It's a struggle at being able to be in this industry and be on the go and being an entrepreneur and saying that, 1, I'm going to lose weight. 2, I'm going to get up and I'm going to meditate and read my word. 3 is I'm going to go to church more. 4 is I'm going to talk to God more. 5, I'm going to talk to God before I make any decision. And then in reality, you've made a decision, and now you got to consult God about it on the back end, because you're just moving at your own pace. And sometimes the formula looks good. Now, here's the bad thing, is that when you've really figure out a formula that worked and you didn't consult God about it, so now you're like, oh, I ain't even need God on that. Like, this formula worked for me, so I'm just going to continue to go with this formula until this formula fails. And then you realize you have to go back and sit at the feet of God and be like, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to do that. And so that's a constant thing too, is not leaning to my own strength. As amazing as my styling craft may be, or my interior styling may be, or my speaking may be, I still have to lean to God, because it ultimately it comes from Him. You know what I mean? And I know when you can see you, when my work is horrible, just know I didn't consult God. All right.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I
yeah.
always know when I did not consult God on something because it normally comes out pretty bad.
Tell me this. Have you ever gotten to a place and not consulting God so much that he became silent and you felt his silence? As if, like, you get what I'm saying? Like, have you...
I wonder if it was God's silence or was my surroundings too noisy. Yeah, I think that my surroundings were too noisy. I don't believe that God has ever really gotten silent on me.
Okay.
Thank God for that grace and mercy.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like he's ever gotten silent on me, but I do feel that my surroundings have been so noisy that I couldn't hear from him. And I felt like whenever a friend gave a good suggestion and that suggestion ended up working, then I found myself going back to that friendship to ask for the same advice over for any advice because that friend gave me sound good advice. So then I consult with them before I actually go to God. And it's quick to do it via text. It's quick to do it via DM. It's quick to do it via just hopping on the phone with someone. It's quick to do those things because you can get a quick answer.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like I know, sometimes God makes us wait.
Yeah.
And we have to sit still. And sometimes we don't want to sit still. And it's like, God, I have to know this answer by Monday, 8 a.m. And if I don't know it, I'm going to call my friend and they're going to tell me the answer.
Right.
You know what I mean? And God's like, I'm going to tell you Wednesday.
Right.
I'm not going to tell you on Monday. I don't work on your time. I work on mine. So learning how to sit still and really hear from God and to get in a quiet place. And sometimes that quiet place, I can still be on the go. I'm learning to be on the road and be in a quiet place at the same time. Like when I'm in my hotel, instead of going out to eat with everybody, go to my hotel room, get my food in my room and get in there and study or just listen. Sometimes it's not even about just studying. Sometimes it's just get in a silent place so that you can hear. And the biggest thing is learning how to appreciate your own company.
Now I want to know. So you're saying I'm loving how you're letting people know the importance of self-care. In God. But tell me, how do you balance? You have been married. Okay.
Yes.
For 80 years. Okay. 80 years. All right. They have 2 beautiful children.
Yes,
but tell the world. I mean, because the girls don't know. Well, hold on. Let me talk to the girls real quick. Y'all better understand. All right. This is a disclaimer. All right. We got okay. She a thug, but she not a thug. Okay. I'm sorry. But go ahead.
No,
tell us about.
my wife has been a soldier for me. Honestly, a lot of people. It's always Google. People always Google like, does JBolin have a wife? Is he married?
Yes, he is.
Does he have kids or where does he live? People want to know these things because of obviously the industry that I'm in, and then secondly, we don't necessarily show a lot of our family life online, and we do that to protect our own household and to protect our own lives. Right? Who knows? Whenever God is going to bring us out one day, maybe we come to the stage and do something beautiful, and maybe the kids will lead us into that. You know what I mean? Maybe it's not us right now. Maybe the kids aren't mature enough for that. So we've decided to keep our lives, and then whatever's in the JBolin world happens in the JBolin world because nobody at home calls me JBolin.
Nobody.
But my wife's name is Nicole. Nicole Bolin, and I have 2 amazing children as well, Denham and Chloe, and they keep me extremely busy. So even in the midst of that, the noisiness can happen also at home. So in the place that I feel most love, the place that I feel like I'm most protected, can still be a noisy place. And so as much as I love my wife, as much as I love my children, I still then have to continue to find a quiet place at home that I can still hear from God to even be able to lead the household. You know what I mean? If I'm on the go, if I'm leading the household, I can't necessarily be a leader and consult with the household about everything. Some things have to be, God says do this, all right, we got to move. When it was time to move to Dallas, Texas, my wife was like, it's not happening. We're not moving to Dallas, Texas. First of all, we don't have the money. Second of all, we don't have the family support. And third of all, I like being at home. And fourthly, I don't want to work in traffic all day. I don't want to be in traffic all day long like that. And so I was like, so you going to come and visit me on the weekends?
Because you said I'm going.
She's
I'm
like,
go ahead and roll up out of here.
So when you need to move movers to come by because we're moving to Dallas, Texas, and so we ended up moving here. But that was something that I heard from God.
Wow.
I heard when it was time to move. I had $0. I remember when I remember getting on the road coming to Dallas, Texas, and I remember we got here and every single apartment complex that we applied for told us no because of my bad credit decisions from the past. I remember my dad saying, "Hey son, on the way going back home, hey, do you really, really want me to loan you some money? I'll loan you some money and I'll loan you $1,000. And I remember sitting in the truck like a little boy, and your dad is sitting beside you, so you automatically feel like a child. And so my dad was like, "I'll loan you $1,000," and my mom was in the back seat, and she's like, "Boy, what's $1,000 gonna do you? Like you got to come up with more than $1,000 to live in Dallas, Texas." And so I looked at my wife and I was like, "Yeah, we're gonna take this money." And I remember getting here to Dallas, Texas, and getting in a settled spot, and my wife and I ended up going to an event and meeting someone there who had a home that I could rent out. Barely could afford that home at all, right? And I remember getting in that house, and there was a settled place for us. It was a settled place for us, and her name is Anita. Y'all know her as short blonde hair, beautiful, fierce, and she had homes, and I had never seen that kind of success. I never seen that kind of wealth. I had never seen that in my entire life. And so when I got that home, all I needed was $1,000 to move in. And so my testimony is I moved from Mississippi with $0, was loaned $1,000, and then God just brings me a place to live. After I got rejected, I probably got rejected from like 20, 30, 40 places, literally. It was so bad that my mom has like a perfect credit score that even when she tried to co-sign for me, it never worked.
Wow.
And then I remember when I ended up getting approved for another home that was right down the street from the very last place that I got my final denial from, and I had to pass the place every day, and that was a sense of gratitude. So I remember when you got rejected, but every single no is not one that you have to hold on to. Just continue to elevate, continue to work hard, and God will bring you that yes eventually.
So when was that yes for y'all? That yes for home?
Well, you know what? That yes came in an awkward time. It came during the pandemic. It was when money was low. It was when things were extremely tight, and then the pandemic happened, and I felt like the entire world did shut down.
Yeah.
And then we just had a new baby. This is when Chloe had just come along, and I remember us not having a dime, and I remember you thugging it out with me. I remember you didn't have a place to work. I didn't have a place to work. And we were trying to figure out how we were going to make a living, how we were going to make some income.
Yeah.
And there was this guy who doesn't believe in what we believe in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this guy said, "I think that you should start doing a collection every single Friday." And I was thinking, you didn't hear from God. You didn't hear from God.
Not with two of us. Not with just two of us.
And I said, and he said, "No, seriously." He said, "I think that you are a beacon of light. And I think that you're hope for your community. And you may be a lot of the hope that people get a chance to see while they're at home with, they don't know what to do in this moment. And your clothing is inspiring to people. Your personality is inspiring to people. So continue to do it." And so we got in that thing.
We sure did.
And we met up during the pandemic with 3 masks on at a time.
I mean,
and
couldn't
literally
breathe.
was putting out orders, and the orders went through the roof. I remember orders going from me having about 5 to 6 orders a week to literally having 300 to 400 to 500 orders every single Friday. And we were trying to figure out how to do it. So you was customer service, I was customer service. You were accountant, I was accountant. Like we were going back and forth, really trying to figure this thing out daily. And I appreciate you for riding with me on that, because most people would have left, and a lot of people actually left voluntarily and involuntarily, because one, no, we didn't know where to go. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know what the world was going to bring. And I want to publicly say thank you for that. I appreciate you for sacrificing the unknowing, sacrificing the knowing to hop into the unknowing with me, and for always seeing me as JBolin or Mr. Bolin. Like, I got you. Yeah. You've always had my family. Chloe loves you. My wife loves you. The whole family loves you. And so, I want to publicly say that.
And I want to publicly let the world know as well. Man, Mr. Bolin, I can call you Mr. Bolin now. Let me tell you something. I am honored to be. I'm gonna stop because I'm about to get thug tears. You know what I'm saying? I need my thug card after this. But seriously, you have shown so much grace. You have shown so much love. You have given me position to. How I grew up is that we stick together, whether it's 2 double cheeseburgers and a small fry and we split it. You know what I'm saying? And we drinking faucet water. Ain't nothing wrong with it. Or you go outside of the house with the water hose. But at the same time, it was easy to do it because I believed in your vision and still do, right? When God gives someone something, if he say, all I got is this mustard seed, I'm like, look, Ms. Bolin, I got some water, right?
Yeah.
Some tears.
No, that's always
but
you.
But that's all that was needed.
But I thank God for showing you grace and mercy at that time. But I really thank God for your sacrifice as a little girl and you not knowing that he was preparing you for me.
All right. We're going to cut right.
I never knew.
I'm a thug. So we
both thugs. But I never knew that God would send me a ride or die, like somebody who really had my back, regardless of how business was going.
Yeah.
Regardless of how my finances were, I could call you and say, Loxy, I don't have $1. Like, how am I going to pay? How am I going to do this? And you would say, we don't figure it out. I got you. I'm coming over. You need me to keep the kids? Like, I got whatever you need. I got you. And I never knew that somebody would have my back, but God was preparing you for me.
Yeah.
Then as a little sister, as a friend, and as a team player, I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Never knew I would cry in public.
I didn't know either.
That wasn't.
But no, that's dope. And you talking about that, and I know we're about to wrap it up, but you gave light because when I first came here, you really spoke to that for me. And I remember when you had me on your platform, and the Holy Spirit started to show me like you're asking from a begging position, but I need you to believe. And here go Mr. Bolin. Well, here go JBolin at the time. Here he go. So I need you to speak tomorrow. I said, you know who on your panel? You got Auntie Priscilla Shire on here. And you forced me into destiny, and you believed in me. You believed, not saying I didn't have it at home in Cleveland, but there was a certain type of, because you're such a crazy creative. And when you started to speak life into Loxy, you can do this. You are a speaker. You are this. And you spoke to that. And when you spoke to that, I said, please, I wish somebody would run up. I was ready. I was prepared. I grew up. No, let me go ahead and finish this because the world needs to know. If y'all run up, you will get done up. Okay. And in the most Christ way, I will speak in tongues and you'll get knocked out at the same time. Respectfully, they may cut that out. Keep it a little bit. But no,
we need to hear that. I think it's important for people to hear that it's okay to have a good friend, and it's okay even as a CEO of a company and even as a business owner or any entrepreneur, as much as you have done for me, it is my duty to do just the same for you. It's not for me to develop you just for myself. Like, the goal is to push you, and I do that for my clients and try to do that for anybody that comes around me, is to push them off into something that's going to help them to excel and for something that's going to push them. You didn't know. You went to see Tyra Banks to apply for America's Next Top Model in New York City and didn't know. You barely got through the door, and then you didn't get to America's Next Top Model. But not knowing that when you came to work with me, and I didn't even notice at the time, that you would then not only be in Tyra Banks' presence, but then you would also be on set with her. You'd be at her home tying up her shoes for me and getting pieces for her, and then being on set of some of the biggest productions that both of us have ever had the opportunity to do. So you never know what God is doing. And I think that the commonality that both of us have is wanting to be liked and wanting to be accepted. And I think that God sees that, and he looks at that also as not necessarily just people pleasing, but he looks at it as though that's my humble child. And if whatever area, whatever room they go into, they want to bring peace.
Yeah.
They want to bring peace. That is the very thing. Now I understand, God. Even in the midst of this conversation right now, I understand that when I go into a room, I don't want to be liked so that I can come up, because I've never even thought about, oh, it's opportunity, let me come up. I never go into a room that way. But now I understand that me wanting to be liked or me wanting to be accepted is really me wanting to create peace in whatever room I go into.
Yep. And I want to tell you that this is the last thing I promise, JBolin. This is so real. I'm calling you JBolin, not Mr. Bolin. But listen, in that, I appreciate you saying, because the Holy Spirit is definitely talking right now. And I appreciate that, because we are close to the same, especially with our hearts. And what the enemy tried to do is to make our hearts look different with each other. Because we've been on now, Mr. Bolin, we have been deep. Yeah. And we were at a table, and he was like, you were about to get fired. And I was at the table, and I said, I was about to leave anyway. So, but we were in that space to really be like, we're as believers of Jesus Christ, that he's like, both of y'all are stubborn and y'all gonna work through this because y'all are building my kingdom. We've been on platforms and we have taken territory in Los Angeles and Atlanta and all these different cities and states that God is like, when you're talking about the Tyra Banks thing, the Tyra Banks thing, audition as a little girl, and then years later, I'm talking about years later, God is like, I'm not taking you out of the room, I'm repositioning you in it. And in that, I've seen you be repositioned so many times, and you took it gracefully. And being repositioned in God, you're like, Lord, if you reposition me one more time, you're going to make me feel like I'm going the wrong way altogether. But
that's actually really good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
but yes.
I'm gonna say this.
Yes.
The last repositioning that you saw me actually be in the midst of was when I was getting prepared for a national television show.
Yes.
And I was so excited about this show. I told everybody, and I posted all kind of mood boards across the room. I told everybody on the team, this is what we're doing, this is what we're going to be. And I was so inspired. And then I got a call and said, you're not ready. And I said, now, God, I know you did not just give me a glimpse of everything that I worked hard for, and just to say, you're not ready. And the only thing I can remember was everyone else had told me, you're not ready.
Wow.
When you got denied of being homecoming king, you weren't ready. When you got denied from being on any fashion team all 4 years of college, you weren't ready. When you got denied of any kind of financial loan, you're not ready. When it was time for me to get the house I'm currently in right now, you're not ready. And here I am trying to get on national television, and they say, you're not ready. And I broke down crying in the room. I broke down crying in the room in front of you, in front of the rest of the team, and I was trying to figure out, I felt like I was a disappointment to you guys. I felt like I was a disappointment to myself. And now I have to call back everybody in my family and tell them, I'm not ready. I know I told you guys the good news, but I'm actually not ready. And so it made me also go back to, well, I understand now why women don't tell people why they're expecting anymore, because they're wondering if the baby is gonna make it. And so I feel the same way sometimes now when it comes to my when I'm birthing out something new, or when I'm birthing out something in my career. I almost don't want to tell people until the baby actually delivers, because I'm afraid of it. But let's be real, that's not a real faith walk. A real faith walk is being able to say it. A faith walk is being able to believe it, even when you can't see it.
And finish it.
That's
the faith walk, because sometimes as us as creatives, what we do is we get the celebration before the work. And when we get the celebration before the work, we become lazy. Because we already got the celebration.
We already got the
pat on the back. So why do I have to get up and do the podcast, right? Why do I have to go through so many
Because
no's?
if I tell everybody that I did a podcast and they say, oh my God, great job, I can't believe you're doing a podcast, then it's good. It's already good to go.
You go back to sleep.
Wow, I never thought about it that way.
You know what I'm saying?
When it's celebrated too early, that's normally what happens.
That's what gives the baby. That's like when the doctors say the first trimester, do not tell people, because you can lose the baby. But sometimes with us, with our flesh, we run into that, And here we go. Here we
Well,
are. But this baby is birthing. I hear
this baby is birthing. This is just the beginning of a lot of these conversations. Thank you for joining me today, Loxy. And this has been such a vulnerable setting and room, but that's what Custom Closet Conversations is about. And I appreciate you for always rolling with JBolin. Until next time, guys.